We're going to watch this. Wuthering Waves is a disappointment. This is, okay, not the worst dislike ratio I've ever seen, but not the greatest either. But hello, YouTube. How are you doing? I hope you're having a good day. We're going to watch this over here on twitch.tv/hex_juice as we do daily at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come join us if you ever have time. Let's get into it. Subscribe.
I think Wuthering Wave is a disappointment. This is coming from my first 10 hours of gameplay.
That was not enough gameplay. 4 seconds in, that was not enough gameplay. And to label a game a disappointment that had been out for not very much time at the time of this posting is interesting, but go off.
I understand that making a video like this will make some of you think that I'm biased or just a hater, but I'll do everything I can to explain to you clearly why I think this game is a huge letdown. On the first look, it's blatant that the game is very Genshin-esque.
Fair.
The UI is similar, the things you get to do, the vibes, the grind, it's all very much familiar if you're a Genshin player.
It is also very familiar if you've played Breath of the Wild. But yes, I agree. It is very Genshin-like. But there's also Dark Souls-like games. Souls-like games are fine. It is okay for things to be like something else. But I'm not saying he's not saying that. I'm just saying it's an open world game. You're doing open world type stuff.
Oh, this game really wants to pick up from a certain other game now, does it?
You could have just pressed shift while you did that and you would have run up that thing. I believe it also tells you to do that. Maybe you didn't read it. Weird example. Go off though.
They don't do a great job at hiding how much they want to be like Genshin when you see the same character progression tiers and battle pass rewards. This is going to be hilarious. Hold on. Let me do a review, a side-by-side review of this battle pass. This is Raisin, which they put it on 5. What is 10? Gem. What's 15? The same thing. What's 25? Raisin. There is no fucking way. Stop!
The battle pass is like a very small portion of the point of the game. I think monetization being similar in multiple things is not a bad thing. I mean, there's similar battle passes between a lot of games when they're similar games. You know what I mean? Overwatch and Fortnite and blah, 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 blah. Like, they're all battle passes. I don't see why this matters. I guess to me, it doesn't. Like, what else would you put in it? Because, I mean, even in, we'll say Cookie Run Kingdom, but like the battle pass is also very similar in Cookie Run Kingdom. These are timers, the speed up timers, because this is an AFK game. Like, this is like level up material essentially for buildings. This is level up material for your relics essentially. Like, this is also for your relics. For what the game is, you're gonna have the same things. This is character experience. This is money. This is wishes stuff. It's very similar. It's always gonna be similar. Is this exactly the same? No, but it's not the same kind of game. Genshin and Wuthering Waves are the same kind of game. It's gonna be resources because that's why you buy the battle pass in gacha games, is for the resources. That's the point. I can also see the UI thing, but I guess to me it's a very efficient and good UI. And to me, if I log into a game and the UI is really unfamiliar to me and it feels like alien, it makes me want to play the game less. I had this, a specific example is actually Pokemon Unite, which we were just talking about on Twitch. Is like Pokemon Unite's UI is really shit and unfamiliar, and it like made me not want to use it.
Any Genshin players here, open up your Genshin tab right now. Compare the Genshin Battle Pass against this. The thing to understand here is that it's okay for a game to want to be like Genshin. I mean, who doesn't when it's the most successful gacha game historically? It still is.
Yeah.
I don't even like Genshin very much myself, but I respect any game trying to one-up the other as long as they do a good job at it. However, to top Genshin or become a more enjoyable version of it, the solution should not be to become like Genshin. We don't need another Genshin copy. Instead, any developer should learn from the things that they've done well, repeat them, and study the things they didn't do so well and improve upon them.
Okay, so the climbing that you didn't do accurately, you did the climbing wrong because you can wall run, which is an improvement over Genshin design. And the battle pass, which is in no way an important feature of gameplay and just an additional thing that is popular because it makes a lot of money for free-to-play games. This is such a weird, like, nitpick take to me.
That way, you are creating a better game. So, let's talk about what Wuthering Waves did that was good. Obviously, every player who have played or seen the game will tell you that the game has immaculate combat. There are added layers to it compared to other games of this genre. These include outro and intro skills, a flurry of attack patterns, and the coolest part to me is the interchangeable extra skill. This skill comes from the relic system. The relics here aren't so much of mashing materials to become an attachment. Rather, whenever you fight a monster for the first time and absorb them, they turn into an echo. The primary echo you set will grant your character a unique ability to use in and out of battle.
Yes.
It's very cool. All the fight sequences, animations, like how the monsters interact with your...
the echoes are a really cool part of the combat because they're all used differently for different characters. I really like the ecosystem. I think this is, the combat is super good. That's undeniably true.
Hits and vice versa are all buttery smooth and a fantastic experience.
100%.
I know there are optimization issues, but at least for my PC, I kind of just ran the game fine. Now, beautiful combat is also paired with beautiful world design. The places you can visit in the game are pleasing to the eyes.
Oh, do you want to kiss on your forehead, sir? Somebody who finally doesn't call the game is very drab. The game is basically grayscale. That area specifically is one of the most gorgeous areas in Wuthering Waves. It's really, really good. And I think that they've done a great job of trying to tell stories with the areas that you go to as well. I'm just very glad that somebody's actually acknowledged this because the game is actually very pretty if you don't just go to the less pretty areas and be look how ugly it is. And even then, the game is very pretty. It is. It just is.
Combat is also paired with beautiful world design.
And if you lower brightness, it helps out a lot because it adds a lot more contrast to the game. 100%.
The places you can visit in the game are pleasing to the eyes. Most relevant comparison I can make is to Genshin, and I will give it to Wuthering that its visuals are clearly better. There's one more addition.
Thank you for acknowledging that. People are on such crazy copium about this. Thank you.
Aspect of the game that a lot of people will praise, and I will too. But I will argue it's not a differentiating factor to sell that it's a great game. That is cutscene animations. When you enter major cutscenes, the characters are very expressive when speaking, and for the fighting cutscenes, they're flashy and impressive to watch. But this extent of animation is easily attainable in other gacha games. The Hoyoverse titles, Arknights, and many other games have in recent times delivered stunning animations in and out of game. So, I'll overall put it that the visual aspect of the game is top tier.
Thank you for saying that. Even if you say other whack stuff in this review, because I don't agree that it's a disappointment. Thank you for saying that Wuthering Waves is a beautiful game with good visuals, because people are trying to say that it's not, and they are so objectively not that's not true.
But with that out of the way, it's time to talk about all the painful parts of the game.
Okay.
Games are most often accompanied by a story. It's ever important because it develops the characters you like, the world, and sometimes hook you in on the lore and mysteries.
I'm going to make a prediction here that this is probably not based off of him finishing the game, the story. I'm just gonna go ahead and have that assumption now for saying that it's all bad. Also, that specific part with Scar and the lambs was actually very cool, and I believe also kind of optional. We're gonna probably have a take that does not include Act 4, 5, or 6, or at least Act 5 and 6.
Putting it harshly, this game is terrible at telling stories.
The first half of the story is very bad. He only has 10 hours. Oh yeah, he's definitely not finished the story at this point then. Yeah, no. The first half of the story is very rough. I think it's worse because of some of the voice acting in EN, but I don't know if he watched it EN. But yeah, the first half of the story is very, very rough. I think that's very fair to say. If we just base it off the first half, which we probably shouldn't if we're calling the whole game a disappointment.
Off the bat, you're introduced to how the game revolves around sound, loading you with technical jargons in your front few hours.
Yeah,
difficult
that's fair.
words are turn-offs for casual audiences coming in. Then, this game runs the typical storyline that you, the protagonist, is a mysterious figure who turns out very powerful, making both good and evil people interested in you.
Yeah.
The protagonists, whether male or female, are pretty good looking. So
the female one is more good looking though. She's my queen. I love her so much.
That helps. But what doesn't help is that the dialogue you get to choose as the MC never feels very valuable. They're not funny, they don't have that much of a personality. I understand the development.
That's fair. I think that's also true in other games, realistically, not just Genshin, but in a lot of different games. I think that's very fair. I think HSR does a little bit more of giving the main character a bit more humor in their responses. But to be honest, to me, because Genshin sort of trained me that the the voice, like the lines that you choose for your main character don't really matter. I kind of don't even really read them.
People probably think that dialogue choices makes players feel like they have control over the game, but I'd rather sacrifice that control if they don't really add value to my character.
That's
the
fair.
supporting characters are also not that fantastic. Straight up, I'm not the type of player appealed by characters showing a lot of skin, having less clothing. They are good looking.
Okay, but they're hot.
And it's okay to see such characters, but it is appalling when all the main characters you meet, except yourself, always feel the need to show their shoulders, their back, their chest. Like, this is the kind of...
What type of Puritan 1942 shit is this? God forbid a lady show a bit of ankle. She's showing her shoulders, chat room. So, like, I think that I think saying that this is, like, really saucy and appalling is not necessarily fair when there are games like Azure Lane or Nikke. I think that's a very good point. But also, it's like, oh, man, they're showing their thigh. The boys are not going to be able to complete their studies in elementary school if we could see a shoulder collarbone moment. I mean, I would say that the side boob, there's a good amount of side boob in the game, but like, I don't think that these are that insanely like sexualized. And even if they are like relatively sexualized, they look really good though. And they also do all have outfits that like actually sort of pertain to what they do and their like fighting style. Shisha is probably showing the most skin, but I would not personally say that this is a highly sexualized character. Skin is not inherently sexual. Most humans have it. I think hopefully all of them have it, but I would not say this is a highly sexualized character, but skin is not inherently sexual. She's cute, but I don't think she's like boobing all over the place going crazy mode.
I think a cash grab game would do, and it's not the experience I want in a game like this. This makes me respect that Genshin has a good balance of this, with some characters bearing some skin while others don on splendid outfits.
So it's okay if Genshin does it, but like it's very exaggerative to say that these are not also somewhat sexualized characters. God forbid a character be hot. I'm sorry, this is a dumb take. I'm trying to interact with this intellectually, but this is like super massive L like weird take because being able to see the skin is not inherently sexual. There's a very big difference between even like the nudist character in Wuthering Waves and like a Nikke character. When you look at a Nikke character, you're like, oh, that is a streetwalker. None of the characters in this game are like so nudie and so like out there with that I feel like it's overboard. Right? It literally pulls a sword out of her booba. That's so true.
Honkai Star Rail and Arknights does an even better job at their character design. To make myself clear, I'm not telling the game to go full halal. Instead, it's about having the right amount of seasoning.
I think that this game does have the right amount of seasoning because I'll be honest, Nikke does like, it's a lot for me. I don't actually personally really like how sexualized Nikke characters are. I don't mind it as much as Azure Lane for some reason, but I think I like the art style of Azure Lane better. I do agree that like overly sexualizing characters can make them less alluring. I don't think that is a problem specifically in Wuthering Waves. Here's the example that I'm going to use. If you showed these characters to your mom, I don't think your mom would immediately think that it was super fucking weird unless she's like really old. I don't think that a normal person would be like, this is porn or this is weird or this is overly sexual. There's a really big gap between this and Azure Lane where I think Azure Lane is a lot. It's too much. These are sexy, attractive, good-looking characters. I like to look at them. But I'm not like, this is porn.
Harem seasoning so that the game can taste so much better. Apart from the looks though, voices also not that great. The characters all have a general habit of speaking slowly, and they're not good at having an attractive personality.
I think HSR also has a problem of characters speaking too slowly. I don't know what language he listened to it in. I think this is very true in English. From my understanding, other languages do have much better, dubs. But I mean, if you don't find them attractive, that's fine. That is a problem in other games as well. Like where the slow talking thing is a thing. I don't know. And that doesn't mean it's not a criticism. That's personal preference. But like, dude, Firefly and HSR, I could not handle listening to her pause for 5 seconds in between every period and comma and punctuation mark.
Only a tasteful personality in real life, but your characters that you play in the game needs it. Because that's what helps you to make you feel closer to the game. The story reader's experience in this game can be described with one word: bumpy. On top of the bad narrative direction, there are many fatal errors, such as voice lines cutting out before they finish, dialogue skipping without you clicking, the inability to scroll long text, which you can on PC by left out and click drag your mouse to scroll. Mouse
I did not know that.
wheel scroll doesn't work for some reason, and you definitely cannot scroll on mobile devices because when you try to, it registers as a tab, meaning you'll skip to the next line.
What? I don't believe this is true. I believe this does work on mobile. I have been told that it does work on mobile. I have not tested it out, so I apologize if I am spreading misinformation. To my understanding, this scroll does absolutely work on mobile. I have heard that from multiple people just now and also before.
This? I cannot mouse scroll this.
Yeah, it's dumb. I agree. It's dumb on PC.
No fit the screen. How do you? There is no backlog function, so you can't reread if you missed anything.
On PC, it does not really work. On mobile, I don't believe this was a problem. I think you could scroll it. It should scroll itself realistically. But I do acknowledge on PC this was a problem for sure.
Anyway, a big plus of the game is that you can skip the story.
Yeah.
So if you hate reading stories and want to speedrun, you can, but only for narration that the game considers less important. If they consider it crucial for you to understand, you must sit through the story and feel all the pains I mentioned.
I am still wondering, like, what translation he watched this in, because to my knowledge, the dub issue was mostly just an EN problem. But maybe, I don't know. I've listened to it in JP. In JP, it sounds incredible. Like, all of the voice lines sound really good in JP. But fair, I guess.
Apparently, while filming this video, the developers added the function to skip all the cutscenes in the game.
Yeah.
And that to me is not the solution because it sounds as if they are not committed to improve the story experience or are admitting that it's shit.
I think that this is such a weird take that people have about like having a skip button means that the story is shit. People like to play games differently. For me, if I was not a streamer and I was not trying to like fully engross myself in games, I probably would skip story because I don't necessarily really care. I'm not like a person that really values the story in games. I like to play games. If I wanted to watch a story, I could go on Netflix. But not everybody wants the story. It could be a really, really good story and people still might not want to watch the story. It doesn't mean anything. I think it is a good thing, objectively, to give people the choice of how they want to play a game. Some people want to play a game really being into the story and really like getting into it and hearing all the lines and all that stuff. And some people genuinely just want to skip every single piece of dialogue. And I think both of those people are perfectly valid in who they are and how they feel. I don't think that means anything about the company or the future intention or any of that stuff.
Play the game, you would have seen the clunky ways NPCs behave when speaking to you. Hand gestures and body movements.
In EN, honestly, the NPCs 9 times out of 10 were better than some of the main cast in the beginning of the story, I'm going to be honest. In my opinion.
That don't match their voices, some of them looking very awkward. The biggest frustration for me is back-face characters. This means that the characters who are speaking at the moment never looks towards you, but show you their backs instead. This is a very painful way to sit through the story because you get disoriented as to who is speaking or who to give your attention to.
I personally have not had this particular problem. I'm going to be honest. I actually liked that in Wuthering Waves, there were a lot of attempts to have like camera angles, to change camera focuses, to have some interesting camera work. I also liked that in Wuthering Waves, there's a lot more expressiveness while they were talking. I really did not like in HSR, especially, how often it would literally just be a singular camera angle that like maybe panned in or panned out very, very, very slowly of 2 characters not moving at all and just sort of like looking forward and like occasionally blinking and going, you know, that for me was definitely not my favorite. I didn't like that. It didn't feel very dynamic to me. And so this was not something I noticed because I was just glad that the camera was moving a bit, that they were trying to make it a little bit more active, a little bit more interesting, you know?
See the fatal error with this, where they changed the camera angles 3 times? The first time when they changed the camera angle was facing this medical personnel. The second time was showing all the injured personnel. The third one is this current angle.
I don't know why you just want to look at the same characters like moving their mouth the whole scene. That for me takes me out of the HSR story all the time. And I'm using that because that's the most recent example. I've been trying to like really get into HSR stuff, right? I don't see this problem. I'm not saying it's not there. Other people will disagree with me. I don't see this problem.
And you see the mega flaw as to how we're not even having a lot of lines for these two characters. And the main person speaking is the person not looking at me. I don't understand why. Is it because they don't want to animate the mouth? Could that be it? They just don't want to do the mouth animation, so they...
No, because a lot of the times the characters that you're facing are emoting at you or like responding to what they're saying. Also, this character is not very important. What's important is ultimately the reaction of the main character and his friendos, right? So it makes sense that we would have the camera angle from the person talking to the people that we actually give a shit about. But I think it makes sense that this medical personnel, nobody cares about them. We're not going to remember them in 2 seconds. A lot of times, not in this specific example, the characters are emoting, sort of like having a reaction to what you're saying, and I care about their opinions about what's being said. I don't care about this medical personnel.
They hide it by showing the character's head. Again! Full camera angle!
It's I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Fourth, you have the perfect opportunity to flip to her. But you don't do it, and you put it on these two. Being in 2024, I think it's a bare minimum standard that a story-based 3D game should understand how to have conversational manners. The manners here being, if someone speaks to you, you can look straight at them. It's not to say that the characters must...
I don't agree. I personally saw it as more like cinematic or theatrical camera angles. I actually don't agree at all. The more he's gone on at this point, the less I agree.
Always face you, but it's a problem when the characters almost always do not do so. In short,
they're looking up together.
The switching of camera angles in this game is horrendous.
I don't agree.
Don't let them run off. Are we gonna chase them?
哥，我走不动了，太饿了。别抓我们，我们实在没办法了才偷东西的。你们是遇到什么困难了吗？这不是现
Like, we're skipping over the fact that also all of the characters are a lot more expressive emotionally in Wuwa as well. Like, Wuthering Waves, the emotions of the characters are way more dynamic. I think it is a cinematic decision to have the camera angles be different. And then I think this is a very bizarre nitpick to spend, you know, 2-3 minutes on.
在北边战事紧张吗？我们这些人没有物资，实在活不下去了。
Wait.
想来想去，还是打
Who was the first person I just spoke to? Was it like a bandit attacking them? I don't even know who I was speaking to. The camera angle didn't even show me who was talking. Now,
why would you need to have the camera angle tell you? It's pretty clear that they're talking to like the main characters. I very weird nitpick. I don't know. It's a very, very weird nitpick.
Now, remember that I told you that I can't remember certain names. Understand this. I'm Chinese myself. 我可以讲中文，我是来自新加坡。The thing is, the decision of this game to immediately dive their players to their first region being Chinese based is utterly strange, especially when you're releasing this to the whole wide world. There are tons of Chinese gacha games where the environment is set solely in China, but I don't think that's what Wuthering Wave is meant to be, and will explore other cultures and places. Setting stone in China first is going to give your players a wrong impression. Even as a Chinese myself, the flurry of over 20 Chinese names is quite draining. This is why
I actually will grant this particular part of the point to a certain extent. In my opinion, the names I do agree with. The names are hard. I think it's easier once you get used to it. I think it's annoying to get used to different names and stuff in any game. I think that's fair to say. I will agree that as a global game, immediately going into like Chinese names, it is a little difficult globally. I don't think it matters, but I can agree that some of the names are a little difficult when you're obviously this is an international global game. So I see it. I just don't think it really matters.
a lot of global gacha games don't choose China as the first region to explore. Liyue is the second for Genshin, Luofu also the second in Stario, and Langmen or Yan is explored 7 months into the game for Arknights. So
I don't think this matters at all. This is such a weird nitpick.
I really don't quite understand if the game is jeopardizing its potential of a player base by going to Huanglong first. To become better than another game, I've said that you either imitate the good things or you improve upon the bad ones. And finally, this game does the opposite in some areas, meaning they are worse or they adopt the equally bad qualities. What the hell
Like
is this
what?
side scroller for a time change rather than a clock? Team's setup being in 2D
I'm gonna be honest, I like the side scroller for the time change because I'm a dum-dum and I don't understand the clock. Because for me in Genshin, I would just spin the clock like forward like 3 days. However, that's like a weird nitpick personal taste thing. I'm not gonna say he's wrong there, but I like it because I'm stupid. I can see the point. This is a personal preference thing. I don't mind it.
instead of 3D, menu
Yeah, you also barely use it.
UI looking like it's from a cheap template online.
So, what would you like to be different? It's a game that is supposed to be played on PC and mobile. Would you like it to be more complicated? It's simple. It's extremely specific. It doesn't have like a bunch of I think this is a great UI. I think it's a very easy, user-friendly UI that is fine for PC and for mobile.
Idle
Okay.
voice lines playing every goddamn 20 to 25 seconds.
Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. But who are those? Where are those who have the memory? Whatever the fuck Zhongli says every 2 fucking seconds. Who cares? I'm gonna be honest, I've literally not noticed this at all. If it's true, I guess you could just turn off character voice lines if it bothers you that much. I don't think I care about this.
Stopping to relax once in a while serves for a stronger
And no 100
How is 25 seconds, like, are we saying that it's too often at 25 seconds? Then that's especially if you're literally just standing still. Why are you standing still for multiple, minutes? It's the same in every other fucking game like this. What are you talking about? I'm sorry. This is such a weird, bizarre nothing. This is like what went so, okay, so these are the chapters of this fucking, of this shit, okay? What went wrong? What went so wrong and what went so wrong, and this whole section has been nothing but the most bizarre, inconsequential nitpicks, personal opinions that I don't even think matter to 99% of people. I'm sorry, this is crazy nitpicking.
120 FPS support. Seriously, a game with a PC client in 2024 of this genre capping out at 60 FPS.
I guess this is not one that I personally care about. I know some people really do care about this. I play the game just fine. I think there are ways to uncap your FPS in the game. They're not necessarily legitimate, but so is Genshin and so are a lot of other games. And I personally don't really care. I'm just gonna be honest. So I understand that some people do care about that. So I don't want to say that it doesn't matter. But a lot of games are like this. But when they already have optimization issues, I don't know that it would have been a good thing for them to give you 120 FPS if there are already optimization issues. Could you imagine a motherfucker trying to play this game on a potato PC in 120 FPS? And she would have exploded your whole life. You would have had a nuke instead of a PC. So maybe they add it later. I don't think this is that big of a deal personally. I think hopefully they will add it in the future. That's what I would like.
This video started with me explaining that this game very clearly wants to compete with Genshin, or experience a piece of its success. It uses the same business model as Genshin, having terrible gacha rates, sharing...
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That is actually just not straight up not true. The gacha system, obviously it's a gacha game. Gacha sucks. Gacha's inherently predatory and shit, okay? Does it have the same rates as Genshin? No, it doesn't. It has separate standard weapon and standard character banners in which you can pick the specific standard weapon that you're going for in that banner. It has a weapon banner where you are guaranteed to get the weapon. There's no 50-50. There's no 75-25. There's no stupid ass point system. And in the gacha, the pity I believe is 80. And there is a 50-50 for the character gacha, but you can buy constellations. You can buy 2 constellations for characters, including limited characters. In what way is this the same shitty gacha system as Genshin? Gacha sucks. There are levels to that shit. This game is significantly less predatory in its gacha. 100%. It does have soft pity as well. This is a way better gacha system than Genshin or HSR by miles. And I'll say honestly, I do think some of his points were very fair. This point kind of pisses me off because this is actually dishonest.
High prices for pooling currencies in today's economy, and the free pooling currency not being very easy to attain.
It's gacha. It's gacha. It's gacha. I'm sorry, it's gacha.
And Bulls is 40 fucking bucks.
I I believe it's like the same as it's the same as Genshin, no? Is that not like the same approximate price as Genshin Impact? Bro, come on now. Like, if you don't like gacha games, don't play fucking gacha games. These are gambling games. These are slot machines that are like that are made very, very pretty. This is the same pricing as Genshin Impact. Why are we like, but the gacha system itself is better. Like, this is so weird.
Another fucking Hoyoverse piece of shite. It is quite harsh for me to speculate like this, but it feels like the developers came into this with the greed of wanting to earn the same caliber of Genshin. Again, nothing wrong with that mindset because all of us want to earn money, but it's about how you do it. If the game is well polished, brilliantly made, then that desire is fully justified for what it is.
And I think it is. I think that you played 10 hours, which realistically in this game is not necessarily enough to have a fully fledged opinion. I have been playing this game daily since release, which has been almost 2 weeks, and I still have changing opinions and things that I have learned about the game that I like more or I like less. 10 hours of this game, I don't think is a fair amount of this kind of game, of an open world game like this, where you have such like detailed combat. I don't think that this is a fair amount of time to have this big of an opinion. Most of this has been incredible nitpicking.
This game feels like it was rushed out to meet the company's expectations and it just turns out to be half-baked and sloppy. A brilliant real-time combat game with stellar visuals only to be ruined by the choice of making it gacha rather than a stand-alone.
I'm sorry. We're just complaining about it being a gacha game. Would you play this if it was not a gacha game? Would any of you, if a game like this came out, not a gacha game, would you have probably even heard of it? 1 in chat if you probably would have heard of it even. 2 in chat if you genuinely think you probably wouldn't have even known that it existed. If a game that was exactly like this, but no gacha, from a random fucking company in China, the reality is the vast majority of y'all would not have heard of this game at all. It's a gacha game. If you're a gacha game player, you don't get to, oh, well, it's ruined because of gacha. Yes, gacha does in a lot of ways make games less complete. It does, because the point of the game is to get you into gambling. That's true. Also for every other gacha game ever.
Game, and then to give it a conversely painful auditory experience, not giving players much reasons to remember it for. This is why I'm disappointed with what...
Was he not listening in the CN dub? Wasn't the CN dub pretty good? I had heard that the CN dub was pretty decent. At least better than the EN dub, but that's fine. That's fair. Very odd. Very odd.
Wuthering Waves, I'll still play the game to clear out the story, and I understand that the game is rushing out hot fixes every single day.
Yeah.
People have said that the gameplay will get much better later into the game. But for anyone starting out the game fresh, why would they wait until 20 hours in the game to experience the good stuff when the first 5 to 10 hours of their game have been very painful?
What was he doing for this 10 hours of gameplay that he did? I actually genuinely want to know, because the first 10 hours of gameplay for me were absolutely delightful. Genuinely delightful. But I don't think he's done that much of the story when he had made this. And I also think that, like, this is such an odd... But this is... okay, go ahead.
I hope Wuthering Waves will improve, maybe with the help of this video. And please share with me as well, how do you feel towards this game? I hope it was a great video, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. My fucking eyes!
Researcher at the Huashu Academy. Let me witness where this encounter
What is
will
this?
take us.
I've been so mad, bro.
That was very weird. That was a video for sure. Every time I go into these kind of reviews, they're just weird. Weird reviews. I've watched a lot of these Wuthering Waves reviews, especially by like Genshin people, and it's like weird. I'm trying my best to be unbiased and honest and all of this stuff, but it's like you're saying things that are like actually untrue. You're nitpicking terribly. I think some of his takes were definitely fair, especially toward the beginning, but this just evolved into like the most insane nitpicking that I don't think anybody gives a shit about. I'm gonna be honest. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below on YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe, all of that jazz. Come join us on Twitch if you're cool enough. We got the cool girlies over here on twitch.tv/hex_juice. I will see you guys next time. Be safe, drink water. Boo-bye!